From the New Arts and Media Studios in Milwaukee, I'm Charles Purcell. This is The Log. And as you know, for the rest of the summer here, we're producing this series of programs with clips from our first 6 months of the regime. We thought it was important to do a little review. Well, I'm tempted every week to abandon this project because there are things I'm just burning to talk about. There's so many important things happening. But then as I listen back to edit these programs, I realize how important it was at the time to be spotlighting a lot of this stuff. For example, in this episode, we're talking about, we had a couple of quick thoughts on the Signalgate story, which were never covered by anybody. We had some unique takes on that. This is only a matter of weeks into the administration, and already they're taking over institutions. It's a MAGA takeover. The ICE raids and the illegal immigrant detention and renditions were just heating up. And at the time, a lot of capital D Democrats were debating whether or not that was a big deal. Oh, maybe we shouldn't stress that. That's not good in the polls. We talked then about that executive order that made the Orange Menace basically a dictator over the District of Columbia. And now, of course, we see just this week the actions he's taking to make that real. Also talked about voter suppression way back in March and early April. And now we have the headlines out of Texas where voter suppression has just become blatant. They're unapologetic about it. So, no, it's not that we can see the future. It's not that we're so smart. It's just that we're not for profit here on The Log. And just a handful of other outlets. Democracy Now! Being the crown jewel of non-corporate, non-profit media. That's why I continually beg you to turn off corporate media. If you're getting all your news from profit-driven media, you have no earthly idea what's going on in the world. So I'm going to continue with this series, at least for this week. We'll see how far we go. My plan was to go through the summer. We'll see. But we're going to listen to clips today from March 31st and April 3rd, episodes 517 and 518. It does include our top 10 demands, which need a little updating. Because I think demand number 3 was deport Elon Musk. At the time, he and the Orange Menace were joined at the hip. And so maybe I'd move that off number 3. I might move that out of the top 10 entirely. In fact, I'm pretty sure I would. Also, this was before the very big, very bad bill. So our demands might have to shift a little bit, but still, we get the point. Oh, also, you're going to hear some mentions about CCOT and those renditioned to that torture prison, which now the Venezuelans have been released in a prisoner swap, and Abrego Garcia is back on American soil. So lots of updates there that make our comments a little bit dated now. But with those small provisions, here we go. So again, clips from late March, early April. I'll talk to you on the other side. I want to talk about our demands. Up until now, we've been a little vague on that. In fact, I've gone so far as to say, choose your own demands. But that was probably bad advice. And we've reached a point now where I think we do need to get a bit organized. I talked at length an episode or two ago about what kinds of direct action to take, and most importantly, why it's important to organize, to join with an existing group or to create a group. Yeah, the importance of organizing at this point. So I suppose it makes sense, too, that we organize some demands. And without getting ahead of myself, sometimes people want to make the demands small enough so that they're achievable on a local level. Okay, I understand the logic of that, but I think we're also past that. This is not, as they say, not your father's, not your mother's rebellion. It's not let us sit at the front of the bus. It's not 50s, 60s civil rights. It's not hippie anti-war. It's so fundamental. We have to save democracy because fascism has just simply taken hold. We have to talk just for a second, pick up just a couple of points on the attack plans and the Signal app thing. Just a couple of things I haven't really heard from anybody else. Did you notice who wasn't on this text chain? Nobody from the Joint Chiefs. The head of the Joint Chiefs wasn't on the text chain. Nobody, in fact, nobody in the military. Nobody. That's kind of weird, isn't it? Because not only did they follow the attack in real time, they literally decided to go on with the attack during the course of this 3-hour text. It starts several hours before the first planes drop their bombs. And they're literally debating whether or not to go on with the attack. Well, I'm not sure the president should do this. Well, what does he think? The president wasn't in on this. The president of the United States did not make the final call. These yahoos over a text chat made the decision for the United States military to drop bombs on a sovereign nation. That seems important to me. These unqualified yahoos, this part-time weekend Fox TV host, made the decision to go forward with the bombs. How is that not part of the story? I don't know why. Apparently, there's going to be no investigation into this at all. Somebody mentioned at one point that they might do an internal investigation. Somebody suggested the military might have the inspector general do an investigation, but oops, that person was fired a couple weeks ago. When all the inspectors general were fired en masse a couple weeks ago, remember that? Yeah, so we don't have one. I don't know if there's an acting or somebody, I don't know who took over those responsibilities, if anyone, I don't know. And then finally, is anybody going to do anything about Ratcliffe and Gabbard perjuring themselves in front of a Senate committee? You can't lie to Congress because that's lying under oath. Whenever you're a witness in a congressional hearing, you take an oath, just like you're in court. And if you lie to Congress, you're lying to the American people, and it's a crime. It's called perjury. And you go to jail. And Ratcliffe and Gabbard both lied. Now, the rest of them all lied too, but they just lied to reporters. And that's okay now, I guess. Because when you lie to reporters, you're also lying to the American people, but you haven't put your hand on a Bible and you haven't raised your right hand. You haven't taken an oath. Of course, you took an oath when you were sworn in, so, You definitely took an oath when you were sworn into your position. I guess that doesn't count for anything anymore. So the four big players in my mind are Mike Waltz, the one who actually set up the call, Pete Hegseth, the one who let loose with all this very dangerous attack plan information, and then Ratcliffe and Gabbard, who perjured themselves. All four of them should, at the very least, be fired, and a couple ought to go to jail. Hey, just a reminder, I've said this before, but it bears repeating. Virtually all the executive orders are bogus. They're unlawful. They carry no weight legally. The president can't threaten funding. He can't use that kind of threat in exchange for capitulation to his policy. It's a crime. You can't do it. It's like asking the president of Ukraine to find dirt on your political opponent, or you'll withhold military spending. He's saying to an entire state, follow my edict on abolishing all DEI, or you won't get any funding at all for your state. I'll just hold it all back. It's illegal. He can't do it. Everything he's doing, the Constitution gives him absolutely no power to dictate to schools, to universities, to law firms, to media companies, to nonprofits, to corporations, to podcasters, anybody, you or me. The president writing something on a piece of paper, the president just declaring something, has no force of law. The president can't tell you what to do. I know he's the president, but he doesn't have that power. The Constitution doesn't give him that power. Congress makes the laws, not the president. He can only be a bully. And that's what he's doing. And that's why we have to stand up against it. All of us, all the time. We have to have each other's backs. It's been so disappointing how so many members of the media and some of these law firms and all the people who are saying yes sir, no sir to this guy. We need media, large, small, independent. We need the legal profession. We need universities, public school teachers, administrators, local and state governments, researchers and scientists. He's coming after all of us. We all have to get together and have each other's back. He's playing bully ball. We can't be intimidated. But you can't just stand by and watch somebody get pummeled and do nothing and say nothing. We got to lock arms. We got to stand together. Okay. Here are my top 10 demands from the pro-democracy movement. I'm trusting, but at this point, you are connected with an organization. You've joined an organization. You're seeing people. You're talking with them. At your next meeting, have this conversation or ask this question. What are our demands? We should be clear when we hit the streets, when we conduct our protests, when we implement our direct action. We ought to be clear with our demands. So far, we're a leaderless movement, and in many ways, I'm okay with that. But it would be nice for someone with authority, someone who can really speak for the movement, to voice these demands. So here are my suggestions. The next time you have your get-together, ask, what are our demands? Here's some suggestions. Number 1, impeachment. Immediate impeachment of the Orange Menace. Number 2, impeach J.D. Vance and remove the entire cabinet. The entire cabinet, J.D. Vance, they have to go. Number 3, deport Elon Musk back to South Africa. If you can find reasons to abduct all these students and tourists and unidentified other folks, you can certainly do it with Elon Musk. And he's guilty as hell of a dozen different crimes, infiltrating the government where he has no business, in cahoots with his Lost Boys, and given the keys to the store by the Orange Menace himself. So there's the first 3. 1, 2, 3. Impeach the Orange Menace, impeach and remove Vance and the entire cabinet, deport Elon Musk back to South Africa. Demand number 4, rescind every one of the Orange Menace's so-called executive orders. For all the reasons we talked about, they're bogus. They have no authority in law. Number 5, return all fired federal workers to their jobs. Number 6, restore all federal agencies and funding to pre-January 20 levels. This includes returning autonomous control to all independent agencies. The Kennedy Center, the Smithsonian Institute, the Institute for Peace, others. Number 7, issue formal state apologies and reestablish normal relations with Ukraine, the European Union, Canada, and Mexico. You can toss in Denmark and Greenland as well. Formal apology, reestablish normal relations. Number 8, abolish ICE. Number 9, shut down all detention centers and free all prisoners held without charges. And that, of course, includes the men abducted, kidnapped, and flown by dark of night to the notorious prison in El Salvador. And the number 10 demand of our pro-democracy movement: hire 1,000 immigration judges and personnel to expedite due process hearings. As many as it takes, if it's 1,000 or 10,000. We need judges, we need personnel, we need facilities to afford people the due process guaranteed by the Constitution. Just a reminder, the Bill of Rights apply to all persons, apply to the people. Read your Constitution. It doesn't say for those who can prove their citizenship, for those who can show their papers you have rights. No, it's the people. It's all persons. Read the damn Constitution. People have rights. I'll toss in a bonus. I'll toss in number 11, Spinal Tap style. Number 11. I'd like a forensic examination of all federal computer systems to remove any nefarious software or spyware or AI inserted by Musk and the Dodgy Boys, the artful Dodgy Boys. So there's number 11, my top 10 plus a bonus demands of the pro-democracy movement. I haven't got the time or, frankly, the stomach to go into details about a lot of this, but just a quick rundown of what they're up to. They're definitely after federal elections. Another executive order, another lawless executive order, targets mail-in ballots, going to require proof of citizenship in federal elections. They can get real sticky and tricky with the exact name on your ballot versus the name on your ID versus the name on... In other words, they want to disenfranchise about 20 million women who changed their name when they got married and just make it tough for poor folks and older folks. So yeah, they're definitely messing with election law. Trump administration is moving to end union rights for many federal workers, just like Scott Walker did 10 years ago here in Wisconsin. Another thing that our new Supreme Court might be able to do something about. Another lawless executive order takes aim at the Smithsonian, just like he did at the Kennedy Center, Institute for Museums and Libraries. Now the Smithsonian taken over by MAGA. Got to make sure it reflects the white supremacist, nationalist MAGA agenda. Dodgy is still at it. The U.S. Institute of Peace headquarters, nearly the entire staff let go, virtually shuttering the agency. And now Dodgy itself is trying to take over their building. All of it illegal. The Orange Menace continues to knock his golf ball into the rough every weekend, costing taxpayers $3 million plus every weekend. Massive layoffs at Health and Human Services, 20,000 staffers. 20,000. I saw some video of HHS workers that were lined up to go into the building to see if they still had a job. I don't really understand how that works. They didn't get an email. They had to go in to find out if they were fired. I don't know. But the point is, this video was kind of striking because from the camera shots I saw, and they lingered for quite a while, showed hundreds of people standing outside in line waiting to get into the building. I counted exactly one white man. One. All the rest were women, white women, and black men and women. So these are the people getting fired. Imagine the workforce in Washington, D.C. Who are you going to get? You're going to get a lot of people of color. You're going to get a lot of women. These are not, the people, these are workers. They're not getting rich off of this work. Mid-level staffers in federal government don't make a ton of money. And as you'll remember, when all the layoffs were happening at the VA, we heard that 30% of workers at the VA are veterans themselves, and that the rate of veterans working in the federal government overall is at least twice what it is in the private sector. So it's no accident that the people getting laid off by the tens of thousands are primarily women, veterans, and people of color. Speaking of HHS, we didn't talk about this last week, but RFK Jr. forced out a guy named Peter Marks, who apparently is one of the top scientists in America, the FDA's top vaccine scientist, forced to resign. He rebuked Kennedy for seeking, quote, subservient confirmation of his misinformation and lies about vaccines. Yeah, wrote a pretty potent letter of resignation, laying RFK Jr. flat. Yeah, we could spend 20 minutes just talking about RFK Jr. He's out making headlines too. He's ordered some bogus study about the links between vaccines and autism, which has been debunked for the last 25 years. He's not recommending vaccines for all the people in Texas and now around the nation dealing with this terrible breakout of measles. He keeps saying, oh, it's a personal choice. Refuses to even recommend. Oh, just have a little extra vitamin A, have some cod liver oil and an avocado. Yeah, they're spiraling. This regime is spiraling faster and faster. Like when you drain a sink, that last little bit down the drain just goes 100 miles an hour. That's what it feels like right now. 17 more renditions to El Salvador using this bogus Alien Enemies Act, defying 2 separate court orders. The administration admitted that they made a mistake with one of the original 230-some, a clerical error they called it. We got an innocent guy, immigrant protected status, worked 9 to 5, married to an American citizen, has a 5-year-old son with autism, American citizen. And now he's in a gulag in El Salvador, and the Orange Menace just says, oh well, our mistake. Well, you're going to get him back? No, he's in the jurisdiction of El Salvador now. There's nothing we can do. Sorry. This is horrific stuff. And people are just being snatched up. The student from Tufts just several days ago. The one we saw on video. Others. Different stories popping up every day. No due process, no evidence, no charges. All entirely illegal, unconstitutional, un-American. They're using facial recognition now to target foreign-born college students who may have attended a protest. They're hauling them in on bogus charges, revoking their immigration status, their student visas. All of it without evidence, all of it without due process, all of it without a judge. There are a whole series of American gulags known as detention alley, ICE centers, mainly in the U.S. South, where they're sending these people just to rot in jail without charges, without evidence. And if they can do it with an immigrant here on protected status, if they can do it to a permanent resident here with a green card, that is just half a tick away from you and your citizenship. They can do this to you. They can do this to anybody. There have been a couple of cases of citizens, American citizens, swept up in this chaos. Another executive order deals specifically with the District of Columbia. The federal government now, according to this order, again, unlawful, illegal, I have to keep saying that, but according to this, he alone has dictatorial power over the District of Columbia. They couched it in language about making the district safe and beautiful. But it changes federal law to allow, quote, pre-trial detention. You hearing this? Pre-trial detention of criminal defendants. And the government is the one who determines the status of these so-called criminal defendants. The government determines who poses a genuine threat to public safety. So in other words, if you decide to carry a sign and protest on the streets of Washington, D.C., the President of the United States, the new dictator, can just haul your ass into jail without charges indefinitely. Yeah, this whole thing, it's very pretty language if you read it. All preventing crime, punishing criminals, preserving order. No, it's all about putting all his ducks in a row. This DC Safe and Beautiful Task Force, as it's called, will include the FBI, the U.S. Marshals, Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, the D.C. U.S. Attorney's Office, the Maryland U.S. Attorney's Office, the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Eastern District of Virginia. They got everybody under their thumb now. They're calling the shots. It can require the assistance, the cooperation of all local police departments, the Metropolitan Police, the Transit Authority, State Parks Police, Amtrak. Everybody's under their thumb now. The language of this executive order is filled with this sort of vague language, like this one, giving them the right to arrest, detain, quote, individuals who pose a genuine threat to public safety. Yeah, that could be anything. More robust local law enforcement presence. The task force shall report to me as necessary through the assistant to the president and Homeland Security advisor regarding safety in the District of Columbia. Yeah, this is dictator stuff. Absolutely. So there it is. Yeah, his executive order becoming the dictator of the District of Columbia, and now this week putting federal law enforcement on the streets and making all sorts of threats, telling homeless people they have to leave immediately. I mean, come on. And as I said, no, we're not. It's not that we catch things that other people can't if they want to, but most news media is profit-driven. Even the independent guys, I got to warn you, which I think I have maybe once or twice. I keep telling you to go to independent media. Well, a lot of the small independent guys, the YouTubers and such, they're still relying on clicks. They're still relying on sponsors. They're still pausing for this message, from our sponsor. They're chasing clicks. They're chasing money, just like the big guys are. They may look real independent and they might talk tough, but they're still just following mainstream stories. They're following the most sensational stories. So it's tough. Finding good media is tough. Don't give up. Please don't give up. All right. So again, this was a best of episode of The Log. Clips from March 31st and April 3rd, episodes 517 and 518. Find all episodes at the website, charlesburcell.com, or on your favorite podcast platform. We don't chase money. We don't have sponsors. We don't ask you for money. There's no money. There's no money at all in this. Follow on Substack and Blue Sky. Thanks to our home station, River West Radio in Milwaukee. Also a nonprofit. There's no money over there. Peter Donalds wrote and performed our theme song. He makes no money as a musician. There's no money. There's no money here. All right. I love you. I'll see you out there.